Income growth by class, 1979 through 2007. Brought to you by capitalistsurf.com, where you can find more news and knowledge for the commoners. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can get new updates there. The following income chart represents the income for the working poor, the middle class, and the rich. All data is pulled from the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan, highly respected numbers cruncher. The green line represents the working poor. Their income went from $16,600 in 1979 to $18,400 in 2007, an $1,800 annual income increase over 28 years. The blue represents the middle class. Their income went from $54,100 to $64,500. It's roughly a $10,400 increase over 28 years. While the top 1%, the rich, have seen a whole different reality. Their annual income went from $550,000 to just a hair under $2 million. Now let's look at another chart representing the same incomes as the percentage of growth over the last 28 years. 11 and 19% increase in income over the last 28 years. That's what the working class have seen. The fact of the matter is, inflation has beat out those gains, whereas the top 1%, or the rich in America, have seen nearly 250% gains. If your notion of fairness is you benefit more, you pay more exponentially regarding how much you have benefited, this next chart should mean a lot to you. The tax rates represent the years from 1979 through 2007. The bright red line is the top marginal rates. In 2010, if you've made over $373,000, any revenues above that mark is taxed at a slightly higher rate. So, over the last 28 years, you've seen a tax cut of 50%, while your income has skyrocketed over 250%. The brick red line represents investment income taxes. So think Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the richest men, not just in America, but in the world. His tax rate is lower than his secretary. Over the last 28 years, he's seen a tax cut of 46%. The purple line represents the bottom tax rates. So that's basically the working poor, or maybe a little bit above that. Their tax rates have gone down 28% over the last 28 years. Our tax code clearly represents the interest of the very few. Let's see how the stock market has done over the last 28 years. Represented by the black line, you can see, once laid against the income chart, that the stock market has skyrocketed along with the incomes of the top 1%. Where some economists would say, in the 1980s, investment income taxes were cut to spur growth and investment. You could say they were right. The problem is, it only opened up growth for incomes in the top 1%. Personal savings rate for the last 28 years. Now, maybe there was something that all of America drank in 1981-82 that made them extremely irresponsible financially. Or you could make a case that there has been an additional tax on living that corporations have imposed, and the rich have imposed on 98% of Americans. It's cost more for transportation, it costs more for medical expenses, while you get less care. It costs more for the skyrocketing housing cost in America. All these things have added up and have squeezed the American people. While not being squeezed as much, you can see the difference in income over the last 28 years for the rich. Now, maybe you're saying, oh, well, that's biased. But the reality is, you have to explain this away. I mean, could you say then in 1982 that the tax cuts for the rich made personal savings rates go down for 98% of us? I don't know. You think about it. This next chart will show the actual impact that personal savings rates and the overall economic structure we have in America has affected average ordinary citizens. Personal bankruptcy filings have skyrocketed the last 30 years, possibly a cause of stagnant wages or effectively declining wages increased expenditures like medical, transportation, and housing costs, and also the depleted savings that average American households have felt the pain of the last 30 years. As you can see, the only other thing that has skyrocketed this much is the pay for the rich, the top 1%. There is one chart that I would like to show you that actually gives you a more graphic illustration of the skyrocketing pay for the rich in relation to the pain of 98% of Americans out there. The red line in this chart represents the top 400 richest incomes in the United States. From 1992 through 2007, their incomes increased 737%, whereas their taxes decreased by 55%. You get 7 times more income in less than 20 years, you get taxes cut. In fact, their taxes are less than the poor people who work for them. Emmanuel Sands, professor from Berkeley, has done a great job analyzing income data all the way back over 100 years ago. This chart in front of you is an illustration of the top 10% income as a percentage of overall income. As you can see, high levels of inequality usually translate to highly unstable economies. The last time the concentration of wealth was in so few hands was back in 1929, which is, everyone knows, right before the Great Depression. You could look at it as a person who wins a big hand in poker cashes out. That's what rich people do, and when you have too few controlling too much, then you have a top-heavy society from an economical standpoint.
The fire code's the one-way roads, the government conspiracy, the thin facade, the red man's God, it all just seems so clear to me. And the foreign places with the hungry faces and the broke-down Chevrolet, the race to see the ending past, the stops along the way, and now I'm screaming on the crowded streets. I'm telling everyone I meet, but no matter what I try to say, I'm only whispering. But no matter what I try to say, no one is listening. All I got's this same old plot and a rusty set of strings, but I'll rehearse this same old verse until there's nothing left to sing. But no matter what I try to say, I'm only whispering.
James Truslow Adams wrote in the Epic of America, "The American dream is that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It's a difficult dream for the upper classes to interpret adequately, and too many of us ourselves have grown weary and mistrustful of it. It is not a dream of motor cars and high wages merely, but a dream of social order in which each man and woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position."